Hello, I'm up here in sunny, beautiful southern Colorado, fishing on the Conejos River. Can't really see it. It's down there. Oops. And yeah, I love coming up here. Hopefully you can hear me. I love coming up here. It is my heart home, one of my heart homes around here. Keeps me sane, especially in the summer and in the autumn. The water level, though, right now is really low, lower than normal this time of year. And this amazing river, which is really the best fishery around northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, in my opinion, at least that I've experienced. It is, it's quite the beautiful river. Right now we're almost to the reservoir that it flows out of, and it flows through this beautiful valley. And we've got our amazing afternoon, beautiful day today. Anyhow, I had no agenda. I like being up here and I like sharing. But what I was just thinking that I wanted to talk about actually relates to the water. And we're sitting here and I'm looking at this river that is flowing at maybe 25 cubic feet per second. And it's normally well double that, I think, this time of year. But what I wanted to talk about is the Primordial Waters. Primordial Waters, the ancient deep water. Maybe you are familiar with this topic. Maybe this is a new terminology to you, but with the Primordial Waters, what I mean when I say that is that there is living, conscious water that is within our earth. And in ancient times, it used to be all over at the surface, and it was like an interface that allowed human consciousness to interact directly with the Gaia consciousness, the consciousness of this incredible planet. And I learned about this. I had a past life regression once with my sister Stacy. My soul sister, not my blood sister, but my sister from another Mr. Stacy. She helped me during a regression at one point, and I don't remember what we set out to achieve during this regression, but we were taken back into a lifetime of mine that was in the period of time of the civilization that we would call Atlantis. And we got someone driving by right now. During the period of time of the precursor civilization that is commonly referred to as Atlantis. And in this lifetime, I was a priestess and was at a temple that was located it was off the coast, off the Atlantic coast of what would now be Argentina. And it was an island. And on this island, there was a temple that was like right at sea level, basically, and or right above sea level on this island. And this island was very special because off the coast of this island, there was a source of the primordial water, the ancient, deep, heavy water that issued up from deep within the earth to an underwater, like we would probably call it like a geothermal vent or something like that in today's parlance. But it wasn't geothermal, it was like a spring, and it issued forth a huge volume of this water emanating out from deep within the earth. And this Atlantean temple, I mean, this is like, if I were to guess, I would guess this is probably like 17,000 years ago or something. It was before the most recent fall which is kind of commonly accepted to be around the Younger Dryas period, like 12,500 years ago, roughly. 9,500 to 12,600 years ago, something like that. But this is, older than that. And the Atlanteans, or who we can call the Atlanteans, they had a type of field technology that surrounded this geyser, this underwater vent that was emanating out this sacred water. And this water was like heavy. It was like deuterium or something. It was like heavy water. And the field technology that they employed did not directly go to the source. It wasn't like a cap on the source that was pulling off this water. It was a field that was around the area that was pulling out a very large amount, but a lot of this water was emanating out into the ocean. And the Atlanteans believed that, that as that water would emanate out into the ocean, there were other sources like this all over the planet. There were sources like this that were on the surface as well. But this was one of the most sacred. And, it would inform the entirety of the oceans with this water. But then where they were harvesting the water, collecting it through this field technology, it looked almost like a wormhole. It was like a tube, like a cylinder that was pulling this water out, and it brought it to the surface in this temple. And in the temple, there was like this swimming pool of the pure water. And I was a priestess, and I would, when I would communicate, my whole purpose was to communicate with the consciousness of the planet. And I would get into that pool. I would strip down naked and walk into the pool. And it was kind of like stepping into glycerin. It was like heavy and it was thick, but it was water. And as soon as you would step into that and I would immerse myself in that, it would allow a conscious connection into the consciousness of the planet, and you could communicate with the planet. And they took this water from the pool, which I was going into the pure source, and then they took all of that water, and it was taken via this like field technology out to the rest of their entire civilization, everywhere within their civilization, which was all over especially around the Atlantic and around the Mediterranean, but they were all over the place. There would be less and less and less. It was like watered down, if you will. The concentration of this heavy sacred water was less and less and less and less. And but there was a piece of it that touched their entire civilization and informed their consciousness. And so, this is where I learned about the heavy sacred water, the primordial waters of the earth. And at some point around that time, probably maybe in the years afterwards, I think this was in 2009, 2010 when I got this piece of information. Sometime around then, I don't remember if it was before or after, I remember reading that there had been a discovery where fresh water was discovered inside the earth, and they said that the volume of this fresh water that was inside the earth in the crust, or maybe isolated and hidden within the mantle, or whatever model that we've been told, but that this water, it was many times the volume of our ocean. So all of the water on the surface of the earth, this was like many times, I don't know, it was at least 10 times. It might have been like 100 times the volume. And they say it was fresh water based on density. And that is what I'm told, that is related to the primordial waters. And what happened upon the fall of Atlantis, I mean, it was, there was a cataclysm, but it was really, they call it the fall, not because the civilization fell, but because they fell in frequency. The earth fell in frequency, and it dropped into a real 3D density with the disaster. I also believe that with these earth changes, these frequency shifts like we are in right now, you can actually catch the wave and you can move up into the next octave. which is what we are all doing. But for the octave that remains in that 3D, it's often a massive cataclysm of some kind, earthquakes, floods, fires, whatever, lightning storms. But so anyhow, this water upon the destruction of Atlantis and the fall of their civilization, the waters receded. The primordial waters withdrew back deep into the earth, and they became inaccessible to the Earth's surface humanity. And that was really due to frequency. But what's happened is in recent years, the shift that we have all been experiencing. There's a cloud ship, a couple of them actually. That's a really obvious cloud ship right there. I don't think I can turn here. We're gonna try looking beyond. There it is. Check that out. That's really funny. They're here. The shift that we've been experiencing has changed the frequency, right? It has raised our baseline frequency of our 1111 as we've been recording, the baseline frequency of the planet and the baseline frequency of humanity. And so as we are shifting and that frequency, that baseline frequency is shifting upwards, I'm being told and being shown, and I'm feeling really deeply within my being that the primordial water is all returning. It's returning to the surface right now. And maybe you're experiencing this. I talk with people about these things. I bring up the primordial waters, and some people are experiencing this. Some people are having visions. In the desert, the mesa, the high desert of northern New Mexico where I live, there are people that have been having dreams and visions for many years, but especially in recent time, involving water emanating out of the ground in the middle of this desert, in the middle of this sagebrush expanse that goes for miles and 30, 40 miles, dry. That water would issue forth on the surface and form rivers flowing where there is no river currently, that would form lakes and ponds and big lakes, and would form geothermal hot springs rising from deep within the earth. I keep seeing visions of this, that certain areas, this is going to become the way that it is, and I think it's going to be for all of the world, into areas that have had the water withdrawal because of the drop in frequency and because of the weather modification. But these visions are coming in strong, and I just wanted to share about that a little bit now because I'm here with this water, right? And back before this dam was installed, before the reservoir was created, this was entirely spring-fed from the San Juan Mountains. And this is like a large tributary of the Rio Grande watershed. And there would, you can see where the high water mark is when you're down there and you're fishing, and all the rivers around here, you can see the high water mark where there used to be much more water, right? Much more water flowing. And that water, those waters are returning. You can feel it. Here comes Atlas. There's Atlas. Oh, she wanted to lay down next to us. You're such a good girl. She came fishing with me today. The waters are returning. We can feel it. We can see it. We can feel that like around here, several friends of mine and I, we've all been noticing it feels like we are stepping into a more temperate climate. You can feel it. Even if the water measurements aren't totally reflecting that yet, you can feel the shift. You can feel the cooling down of the temperatures. You can feel there's been a lot of rain this summer, and it feels like those inversions are reversing around our weather, around the water. And this is something that we can participate in. We can send our gratitude. Like I remember when I was a kid, I used to just drink out of a hose and Gen X, right? It's like one of the memes. We drank out of the hose and it didn't kill us, but like I used to drink out of the hose all summer, and you just sit there, turn off the water, throw the hose, whatever. I had no regard for the water. And at a certain point, after I'd moved to New Mexico in 2003, I don't remember at what point it was, but I was still in my 20s, I think. I remember taking a drink out of the water and the sunlight hit the water in the hose. I was outside like gardening or something, and taking a drink out of the hose, and the sunlight hit the water and it lit up, and it was crystal. It was liquid crystal refracting through all these colors, and I saw this dimensionality, and I felt the consciousness of it because it came out of our well, that came out of the earth. And it kind of floored me, and I was almost ashamed of myself that I'd never until that moment really given the regard to the water in the way that it needed, the way that it deserves, the way that we were intended to relate with it. And maybe that's one of the reasons why these waters receded. So anyhow, I highly advise that you step outside into nature. We spend a lot of time inside. We spend a lot of time in front of screens. We spend a lot of time, even though I'm in front of a screen right now, it doesn't count. We spend a lot of time, indoors, in buildings, at jobs, in cities, in traffic. I understand not everybody has this available, like the remoteness of southern Colorado, but there's nature everywhere. Go for a walk out in your suburb neighborhood and look at all the different types of trees, like step outside, breathe in the sunlight. We've still got our cloud ship hanging out. There's another one behind it that kind of looks like a jellyfish, which is kind of interesting. I think a secondary one. Let's see if we can see. Oh, sorry, Atlas. There they go. Yeah, you right by the parking sign there on the other side of the parking sign, right in front of the sun. Two of them. All right, well, thank you. I know this is going on here. But let me know what you think. Have you been feeling the waters? Have you been, connecting in with the primordial waters returning? Let me know. And I'd like to think everybody has this opportunity to tune in right now. So give thanks when it falls from the sky or it comes out of the faucet. And I love you all. Be well.